Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Online Warriors podcast, the final episode of October. So enjoy spooky season while it lasts. Because
is it the final episode of October?
Yeah, because Halloween is the Tuesday, and we drop on a Wednesday, which will be the 1st of November.
That's how calendars work. That is right.
The temperature is about to drop precipitously. We're all entering the long dark of winter, and what better way to celebrate that
with Jon Snow?
Talking about, I was going to say talk about video games, but if you want to talk about Game of Thrones, it's been off the air for a long time. But I thought you were going to take us. You were going to take us further through that. No, she's still going. It's good to be back. I feel like we did a double turn one week, and then there was a week where I was absent. So I've been out of the cut here for a while. But
more importantly, the trivia is back.
Trivia's back. I know people were desperately waiting for me to come back and lose again, but I'm actually hosting this week, so that's something. Like, that's weird, but we're doing it. Got a great juicy topic for you there. We also are going to Video Game Town today, so cold season's coming up. Video games are going to get a lot of us through these dark and uncertain times.
Hey, we've already started.
Yeah, so I mean that's true. I'm going to be talking about a game I just started in my What Are You Up To? I imagine at least one of you is as well. We're going to be kind of running the gamut here, talking about probably maybe the biggest game release of the year. I guess Tears of the Kingdom came out earlier this year, but like Spider-Man 2 has to be top 3 biggest releases this year. I don't know. What do you think there? Starfield, Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, I would
Tears
say top
Kingdom.
3 probably.
It's certainly been getting a lot of buzz. I have not yet played it.
Let me just give you some metrics, by the way. Please. In the first 24 hours, Spider-Man 2 sold more than 2.5 million copies.
Not a quiz question. Potentially a future quiz question. When I hear numbers like that,
it doesn't mean
I don't really know.
Yeah, like
I don't really know how impressive they are. Like what? Yeah, what are the other? Like, how many did Grand Theft Auto 5 sell in the first 24 hours? That's what I'm not asking you to like frantically look that up right now. But are you sure about that?
No.
Yeah, we'll get our research team on it. We're gonna be talking a little bit Spider-Man 2 and kind of some follow-on to Spider-Man 2. Not going to spoiler town, if only because at the very least, I believe Nerdbomber and myself have not touched it, and we probably both plan to. So no worries on that front. Techtic did touch it. I think like kind of a lot, but we'll get into that. Yeah, we're gonna be talking.
I didn't play it at all. I just sat there with the disc.
He just kind of he caressed it. There's some vlog content right there for the Patreons. Just
10 minutes of Techtic rubbing.
10 the disc. minutes of Techtic rubbing the disc.
You know,
ASMR like right up against the mic. I did know that. We'll leave whatever. Well, no, I'm not going to say leave that up to your imagination. In fact, I'd like for you to not leave that up to anyone's imagination. We're going to talk about Squadron 42, and if you don't know what that is, that's okay, because I didn't either until like a day ago, but we'll get into that. Looks like it could be a pretty big deal. And then we're going to talk about the other end of the spectrum, which may be one of the worst games of this year. You have to think Gollum or this game. I guess sometimes hear a lot less about
I almost
bad games.
Don't think it's a contest. I feel like this one takes the cake.
We'll have to get into that because there's a couple different perspectives you could come at it from, but there's a common factor in both of those terrible games that I think we might delve into a little bit. So, video games on the docket. I do want to start with Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man,
if only because it's dominating the news cycle as of this recording. It's a big deal. I've seen a lot of X discourse about Spider-Man 2. I haven't really been spoiled yet, but also it feels like it's kind of a game that I don't know how much spoiling they could really do to me at this point. I know Spider-Man's going to fight some folks.
They're spoilers.
I know Venom's going to be involved. So like, yeah, I'm not like out there actively looking at all the videos and like being spoiled actively, but like my point is I'm not super worried about it right now, but there was a launch trailer that it did get into some spoilers. Again, I don't want to talk about those here, but we want to talk about the role of Venom in particular, because as we've seen in other trailers, playing a big role here. It's been widely suggested, if not outright stated, that Peter Parker is going to become Venom at some point. First of all, is that a fair statement? Techtic, I don't know if you've actually played it or not. I don't know what you're willing to say, but
from the trailers, that makes it seem that way.
It seems like it's accepted as truth at this juncture.
I haven't gotten to a part where Peter Parker becomes infected with the symbiote yet, so I cannot confirm. I'm basically avoiding X at all costs, but there is a pretty significant role that the symbiote has been playing in the story at this point. So one could draw conclusions that it is interested in latching on to the old Parker bod.
Let's, as an intellectual exercise, jump ahead. Spider-Man 2, obviously going to be, or already is, a colossal success. What is next for Insomniac? Now, Insomniac, I believe, is doing a Wolverine game.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, what is next? Well, they've been eerily silent about the Wolverine game. So
that's true. We got a very, very short clip of the Wolverine game that really didn't tell us much of anything, but just kind of confirmed for people that they could be excited about it. But, as a company, Insomniac's not going away, and as a franchise, Spider-Man's not going away. Obviously, without knowing how Spider-Man 2 ends, I mean, if I was a guessing / betting man, I feel like it has to center around Miles Morales moving forward, but I'm not saying Peter's going to die or something. I'm just saying that I would guess that's where the chips are going to get pushed. Miles Morales, of course, already had his own standalone Spider-Man game, which I quite enjoyed. I enjoyed both of them. But if I guess starting with that basic question, do you guys have a sense of where they're going to head after this installment? Is Venom going to play a big role is another question.
It depends. And and the reason why I say that is because Venom is the quintessential villain, and I'm going to take all of my inspiration from the comic books. And I think I've mentioned where I think a cool Spider-Man Venom type game would be, and pointing to like Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, that was this space fighty superhero game that did really well. And so there is a space fighty superhero subsect of Venom that I think would behoove them to leverage sort of the quick combat style and not the big bulky style that the Venom that everyone thinks of is, and that is Agent Venom. And Agent Venom is more of like, it looks like he's in like a suit of armor, he's a quick fighter, and I just think he's like, looks more badass. It plays nicer with the combat style that we've been introduced with, as opposed to the slow brooding Venom that we've been exposed to. So if they were to do a spin-off, I think that would be the way to do it. But we have seen, other more slower brooding fights, i.e. the Batman games, right? He's not as quick and like springy as Spider-Man is, so it's not impossible. I struggle with this villain story because I don't think it has legs unless you're playing as the hero.
I would love to play an anti-hero though.
Well, there's already elements of that in this game that we've seen from gameplay footage and stuff I mean, Peter Parker playing as Venom, I would think has anti-hero elements, right? Where you can be especially harsh on baddies. I guess they're still baddies, but does that qualify for you?
Venom, the big bulky one, is more villain than he is anti-hero.
But like, kind of like the movies, the Venom movies, like I would like to play anti-hero Venom.
It could work.
Yeah,
I just don't think it has a place in the Spider-Man universe that we know today. That Venom that we've seen in the Fox installments are an alternate dimension with Tom Hardy where he is that role. With Spider-Man, it's not.
Yeah, but what's saying that we won't get a completely disconnected Venom game?
That's where it has legs. I agree with you there. But within this universe, if you're going to do a spin-off from where the story leaves you and go forward, I don't think it could work if you do it that way.
To that end, let me frame the question a different way, because I think you're already kind of touching on it. So I've seen comparisons drawn to the Arkham trilogy. Arkham Asylum, obviously incredible. Arkham City, I think many, if not most, consider to be the best of that trilogy. Spider-Man 2 is already drawing similar comparisons. You could make the argument that Spider-Man 3, if it ever comes into existence, really doesn't need to to the same argument people made with Spider-Man 2 is that you didn't need to change anything from Spider-Man 1. If you're asking me, you could have come out with Spider-Man 2 and it could be exactly the same as Spider-Man 1, just with a different set of villains, I guess a different story. Like, I see this game and this franchise as a fairly rare case of, for me at least, of the story actually not being the most important thing.
Really?
Yeah. I just, when I think of Spider-Man, the games that I played, Miles Morales and the first one, I barely remember the story.
Really?
I remember the gameplay. I remember the flow. I remember the traversal.
Right, and that's
the stuff that sticks out to me.
That's why my major pitch is the Venom type that they pick. And that's why, so when I think of the big brooding one, I think of like the Hulk game. And that's just, you're kind of sluggish. It's kind of slow. This,
yeah,
you're,
my
like,
answer to
you're
that
jumping,
is
you're having
Hulk
fun.
game?
You're like doing cool spin. Like, that's exciting. Being this big brooding thing, it doesn't seem fun to me as a gameplay mechanism.
And, I also want to step away from I think the comparison that people have made to the Arkham games is in a lot of ways an apt one, but I did care about the story in the Arkham games, in particular Arkham City. I thought had a great story. I just the main point I'm trying to make is that I don't think Spider-Man 3 has to be anything particularly exciting or new. I'm not even sure they need to.
If they're gonna do Spider-Man
characters.
3, I think it's gonna be removed from Venom, and I think it's gonna focus on introducing Spider-Gwen.
Dude, that would be sick.
Because that's how you take it forward with Miles, and you have that introduction of a new character that has the same level of acrobatics.
Do you think they would go into the Spider-Verse? I know we're straying from the Venom topic here, but do you think they'd
probably
go into
not.
Spider-Verse?
I don't think so. They might touch it tertiarily, like how she came to be, but I think it's going to be similar to the way it was in the first one, where it's not across the Spider-Verse. It's just like a thing that happens.
Well, you can play Spider-Man 2. I've seen you can set the frame rate or something so it looks like you're in the Spider-Verse and operating in that animation style. It's really cool. That's not a spoiler. It's just something I'm sure it's a thing you can do after you beat the game or something like that. But yeah, kind of getting back to the Venom point, it's interesting thinking about how he fits into all this. And I do think that the dominant question is, does he proceed forward within this storyline, or does he become larger than the storyline, or maybe not larger, but different enough in the sense that, okay, you're going to get a Wolverine game, then you're going to get a Venom game, then you're going to get Spider-Man 3. Insomniac's arrow right now is pointing exactly straight up. So I'm not sure there's anything you could sit here and say that they couldn't do.
I'm just still so shocked that you don't care about the stories in these games, because I actually thought that the storytelling in the Spider-Man games was top-notch.
It's good. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm just saying that when I think about the games, it's not the first thing I think about. And I think
that's credit to them for
nailing
the web slinging, though.
Oh, for sure. This is not me taking away from the games at all. It's more so me saying that, yeah, the gameplay was so fantastic, and also the kind of mythos of Spider-Man has just been, it's been beaten into me by so many other things that I think for that reason alone, it becomes a little bit secondary to me. And you could say the same thing about the Arkham games, but I think I have less Batman exposure overall than I do Spider-Man exposure, just based on how prevalent he's been in the Tobey movies, the Andrew Garfield movies, the MCU, all these things. Not to mention the games that came before it.
And then as far as what characters could they introduce to kind of expand this and not have a weird third dimension, there's also, Hell's Kitchen is a location in the games, right? So there's also the opportunity to have Daredevil that has the same, again, similar combat style that's just fun, twirly swirly gumballs, and everybody loves it.
Yeah, I think it's a unique opportunity because, we're living in a world right now where I think widespread disgust and exhaustion with the MCU is not going to slow down. But when you couch the same universe in the context of a video game and not necessarily give people the chance to see the same characters again, but play as them, fight the way Daredevil fights is a perfect example. We've all seen Daredevil in a few different things now, and Daredevil's not even the best example of a character that people are exhausted by, but nevertheless, there's plenty of Marvel characters that, provided Insomniac and Sony have the rights to them, because I don't know, that probably gets very murky very quickly, could be very, very useful things for them as they, I imagine, continue down the road of making superhero games. Not to mention the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery, which, between the first game and Miles Morales, and I'm sure the second game, they're probably running through those pretty quick, but there's no saying that some of them can't come back. So to some extent, they have a very large pool of villains to work from, and that's maybe all you need to make a good game. Have you played Spider-Man 2? Are you enjoying it? Do you think Venom will move into Spider-Man 3, get his own game, die off entirely? Whatever you may feel, you can hit us up on X at OWLegal86 is my account, at OW Nerdbomber, at OW Techtic.
Call it Twitter.
You can call it Twitter.
And if you tweet at the other two, just make sure not to spoil Spider-Man 2 for them.
That's a really good point. And yeah, I'll try not to call it. I'll try to call it Twitter and X just to be friendly. Our main show account is at Online Warriors 1 on Twitter and X. Hit us up there. Talk to us about this topic or any other topic we mentioned on the show, and let's get a conversation going. Let's move now to a different topic. Let's talk about Squadron 42. Now, Squadron 42, as I mentioned earlier on in this episode, is a game that I had never heard of. I would imagine the main reason for that is that it has been in development for 11 years. And when things are in development for that long and you don't hear anything about them, it's very easy to forget that they exist. I'm not sure I ever knew this game existed, but if I did, I'm sure I forgot. This is hitting the news this week because it has been announced as being, I believe the term they've been using is feature complete. Essentially saying, hey, we're heading into the polishing stage. So I want to talk about this aspect of it because we got a 26-minute video that showcased a lot of very impressive stuff, which we'll talk about. It's being referred to as a potential Starfield killer. But I want to talk about the practice itself of making this whole dog and pony show to basically say the game is not ready, and you could argue it's not even close to ready, but here it is because we know you're desperate because it's been 11 years. I don't even know what my specific question is, but I have a lot of questions about this way of making a game and how the life cycle of creating a game could even go on for this long. I mean, you could say this about Grand Theft Auto too, but like, how does it even work working on a game for over 10 years? Like, I can't even imagine what that must feel like, how they keep it going, how they get the money to keep it going. I guess I just have a lot of questions. I
got a question before you really get into the game. The title of the game, do you think that it was taken from Hitchhiker's Guide, the inspiration of the title?
I'm not a big Hitchhiker's Guide guy. I'm going to say no. I think they take themselves way too seriously for that.
Like, why 42? Why else 42?
There might be some more because this is like part of the Star Citizen universe. And it might be something to do with lore that we just don't know as people who have never played Star Citizen.
Yeah, I think that's certainly possible. I mean, so to answer your question, I don't know. I just don't. I think the tone of Hitchhikers, from what I understand, is very goofy and offbeat. And if there's one thing this game is trying not to be, it's goofy and offbeat. So like, I don't know if that necessarily fits.
In terms of the development cycle, like you mentioned though, like being in development for so long, you could even see when they were showing before and after comparisons of the same scenes, the advancements of technology over the last decade, obviously like there's huge differences in how they can render the cutscenes and interactions and even the character models. And I will say, like, that definitely looks better than their before scenes. Like, their after scenes look super polished, look like something that, you know, you would see on a next gen or I guess current gen now console. But it has to be so hard to keep up with the times. Like, over a decade, hardware changes so much. Like, how do you keep up with that? I give them a lot of credit.
You probably spend 1 billion hours rendering something and then the next day the PS5 gets announced and you're like, well, crap, because of various things that were announced in conjunction with that, we're back to square one in certain senses. It's hard for me to fathom that. But, you know, I mean, I don't want to give the wrong idea. Like, it looks amazing. I've never played Star Citizen before. I know it's like a very big MMO type of deal, which is not my thing. I mean,
but this looks more like a single player campaign with a story and very linear. Well, maybe not necessarily linear, but it definitely has like a story and a linear mission set.
I mean, you got Gillian Anderson, Gary Oldman, Mark Strong, Mark Hamill. Those are just the guys that I clocked. There's a lot more famous people that I could tell. I was like, this is a famous person. I just don't know who they are. I mean, you guys can tell me if I miss anyone that you're a big fan of. But like, it's clear, like, I wonder about the funding. Cloud Imperium Games, like Crytek, you know, these, like, is Star Citizen a big enough deal where it's funding this effort? Who's playing? I don't hear about Star Citizen that much, so I'm kind of confused about their role in that.
Been around for a while, so
yeah.
I don't know so much about funding. But also, like, how long are these characters in the game? Like, it seems like Mark Hamill is showing up a lot, but, like, is Gillian Anderson only there for that, like, minute-long clip that you see? Is she, like, a very brief part where her role is not that big where it would be this ginormous payment?
I mean, they could have also just said, you know what, this looks like fun, and not did this huge payment. Like,
it also had a Kickstarter. I know that. So, like, that's how they got some of the money, but, like, Kickstarters are not going to fund 11-year development for a game. It's, you know, having those names appearing certainly lends it the credence that it's very obviously going for. Again, it wants to be taken about as seriously as possible.
Well, I mean,
and in a lot of ways, it hits the mark.
The gameplay that they show, too, like, it shows, like, it is a serious game. Honestly, the gunplay looks really polished, at least from what we saw. Obviously, you have to take all gameplay that developers show you with a grain of salt, but the gunplay looks super polished. Even the starfighting, and I'm not a big, like, ship fighting person. I don't really jive with it. I don't know if it's just that I don't like the controls of driving a ship like that, because every time I've played a game, it's just not my cup of tea, like air fighting, space fighting, what have you. But even that looks super polished, and the way that they've gone back and like added, they said a lot of details and dialogue that isn't necessarily like, you know, top pertinent lines, but just stuff that you see in the background that gives more of an aesthetic's not the right word. My brain is ambiance.
Ambiance?
Yes, maybe like an ambiance to the game. Like, it just seems like there's a lot of attention to detail being paid here, and you can tell they're taking it very seriously.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and again, I haven't played Starfield. I don't know. I don't have an opportunity to. I thought the gunplay looked better. It was. If it wasn't better, it was right there. And I'm inclined to agree with you about the ship combat. Like, ever since the Rogue Squadron days, I have been wanting to play a ship combat game and enjoy it, and I've never been able to get there. And I've tried a few different ones. I tried Squadrons, I tried Everspace was another one. Like, it seems like the kind of thing I should be really into, and I want very much to like it, but it just never really does it for me. I don't know, looking at this, that this would fix that sickness in me, but it looks well executed. Like, people who are into those kinds of games will absolutely love it. I also, if there was mention of it in this long video, I missed it, but like, I respect. I also got the impression, maybe this was intentional, maybe it wasn't, that they are really, really polishing a game that does not have the massive scope of Starfield, and that is on purpose.
I think that's better. I think people
it's so much better.
People are getting lost in the sauce on Starfield.
It implies a level of focus.
Is that not the right
attention.
phrase?
It's a phrase. I don't know exactly what it means. I don't know if it applies here, but like, it implies, as Nerdbomber was saying, a level of care and focus and attention being put in very targeted places, and that can only provide a highly polished experience. Like, and I'm not saying Starfield isn't. I'm just saying that when you have 1,000 planets, some of it just cannot have that level of detail and attention applied to it. It's just a matter of mathematics. Like, so yeah, I have faith in this. I don't know, like, is this a PC only situation? That was the other question. That wasn't answered for me, but it's possible I missed it. As far as I know, Star Citizen is PC only. So if this is PC only, I guess everyone can have a good time, and I'll just hear about it. If this was a PS5 thing, yeah, what the heck? I may give it a go. It seems like there are worse ways.
I don't
to
see
spend
why they
money.
wouldn't port it to consoles.
PC elitism would be my answer. Yeah, it looks like it's only PC. As far as a quick Google will tell me, it appears it's only going to be PC.
Working on it for 11 years, and they couldn't figure it out.
Again, I don't know if it's that they couldn't figure it out, but if it was a strategic decision of some kind, it's hard to say. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Mark Hamill's going for it. The cast all seems to be going for it. There seems to be a high level of investment and buy-in from everyone who's involved in this video and who's making the game. And it's a hard thing to say no to. I guess I just, again, like, it's even if I was in a different position than I am currently, which is like not knowing much about it coming in. Like, if I was a Kickstarter backer from 11 years ago, I would be approaching this with so much skepticism. After that long of a wait, I'm not sure what I would believe, because I would have probably given up on it happening by now. Like, it's just, I find that whole thing very, very interesting. I mean, what is the longest cycle ever for a game? Like, it has to be this and Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah,
right?
I feel like Grand Theft Auto and even Starfield, I feel like took forever. They said, wasn't that in development for even longer than before they announced it? Like, it was a really long project. Like, I think Bethesda takes a really long time with their stuff too.
I'm trying to Google at the moment Grand Theft Auto 6, but there's not like a Wikipedia page. So, here it is. It says 2013. So we're looking at about the same time frame. I guess 2013 is when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out. So there's a chance it was being developed before then. It seems like no one really knows, but that one's also still in the works. It's just like, I don't know. Grand Theft Auto is a little bit different because it's a franchise that is known for putting out these episodic installments. People know there's going to be a Grand Theft Auto 6. They know it's going to be amazing. They know it's going to be a big deal. This, I'm not going to refer to it as an unproven quantity because it's not. Star Citizen is a very big deal, but they're delving into the single player space, and I don't know, putting an 11-year cycle on that just makes it seem a little murkier to me. I don't know. Am I being too mistrusting, I guess? Again, I have no skin in the game, so for me, it's not super important. But
I'm going to start to not trust them in another 2 years.
Why? Because lucky number 13?
No, because they had 2 more milestones that they had to accomplish, they said, before release.
And you're giving them a year per?
Yes.
Fair enough. I don't know how long the quote-unquote polish portion of their development process takes, but
it was polish and optimization, and then release.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting because they talk about polish, and like, I'm watching some of these sequences and I'm like, this looks pretty polished to me. So your definition of polish must be like a really, really intense spit shine, but I guess we'll see, or I guess hopefully we'll see. So Squadron 42, no release date yet. that we know of. It's been over 10 years, but if they're putting out 27 minutes worth of video, they're probably ready to start showing us more. I suspect we will hear and see more before too long. They probably wouldn't have put this out unless they were ready to provide at least a little bit more of a constant stream of information. So I guess if you're excited about this, be on the lookout for that. We're going to take a short break right now before coming back to talk about King Kong, which I think it's called Skull Island King Kong. We'll get to the title later. It looks like a terrible game. But before we do that, I would be remiss if I did not shout out our fantastic Patreon producer, Mr. Stephen Keller. Stephen's been supporting the show for quite a while now. He is a knight at our table. He gets a sword, he gets the armor, he gets a shield, he gets a big old mug of ale at the tavern or whatever medieval place you want to think of. He actually gets input into our weekly game segment. He gets this producer shout out on the show. He, of course, gets access to the monthly secret segment and vlog, and he gets the occasional guest spot on the show as well. You want to be like Steven, you want to be a knight, you want to support us at the highest of our 3 levels of Patreon support, but if you can't quite do that, there are also 2 lower levels of support. There is a Squire level of support, which gets you access to the monthly secret segment and vlog, and a Page level, which gets you access to the monthly secret segment. So the details on any and all of those levels of support can be found over at patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. Check us out over there, say hi to us, say hi to Steven. Consider giving back to this show that you have hopefully been listening to for quite a while now. So again, we'll take a short break, come back to talk about the King Kong game. But until then, here's 30 seconds of something.
I'm Ryan Fonzie.
This is Cameron Hagee.
My name is Tony Giggles.
And we're 3 dudes who love The Legend of Zelda and love talking about The Legend of Zelda.
And if you are a Zelda fan as much as we are, then come on down and listen to your heart's content.
We have a podcast that we'd like to share with you. It's called A for No, B for Yes. We cover the Legend of Zelda series, different games chapter by chapter, and we have all kinds of theories about what we see and what we've experienced in the game.
Do you go through Wikipedia and look up stuff based on the things you see in the game to create theories to how it could link to other things in the world that we actually live in, and not the Zelda one that was the one that was created by the people that are in the world that we actually live in right now? Because if you don't, then you should watch this, because we do.
Did you guys get all that? If not, oh, you didn't. Okay. So we are A for No, B for... All right, I'll stop.
All right. King Kong. You know King Kong.
He ain't got nothing on me.
The big monkey guy. There was a movie recently, I think it was called King Kong Skull Island or something like that. Skull Island, blah, blah, blah. Well, long story short, here's what happened. Developers at Iguanabee, an indie studio in Santiago, Chile, were contracted by Game Mill to create a Skull Island Rise of Kong game with a strict 1-year turnaround. Starting last June, expected to be wrapped on June of this year. Well, it didn't go great. So this game is kind of making the rounds on Twitter/X is where I saw it, but it's making the rounds in a lot of places. Some of the worst clips I've seen in a minute for a game. And this is, let me be clear, we'll get to this later. Like, I'm not crapping on Iguanabee. Let me just start by saying that. There's extenuating circumstances. I'm more so crapping on the process, which we'll get to shortly. But I've never watched a cinematic for a game, and in the middle, they literally just put a still image of a character. And like very obtrusively put a still image of a character. It was insane. I encourage you, if you haven't seen any of the clips yet, pause this podcast, go watch some of the clips. I don't know that we're not going to like go into detail on them, I don't think, but they're like insane. And it begs the question, how does this sort of thing happen? We're starting to get some answers on that. So this company, Game Mill, contracted Iguanabee to basically make a game in a year. It sounds like the crunch to meet the deadline was quote unquote really set in motion in February per one of the developers at Iguanabee. So we're talking a few months. And this is what a game that was developed in a few months looks like, I guess. You know, it licensed IP being mined for games doesn't always go well. Like that's kind of a known fact. I mean, again, I mentioned Gollum earlier in the episode. That's a much higher profile example, and also it certainly did not look like this. Like, yes, it looked bad. I would argue it did not look this bad.
See, I think Gollum was worse because it had a less tight schedule, and it's like I don't know. I'm giving them a lot of passes. Given the right like resources, I do wonder what they could have made.
I mean, you could make the argument that Gollum was a more cardinal sin simply in that it definitely promised more. Like when this game came out, this Skull Island game, it was the first I had heard of this game's existence. there was not, I don't think, any marketing for this game. Like, it wasn't a game that like was showing up at like E3 and people were like, oh my God, I'm so excited for the Skull Island game. Like, it just kind of happened and people were like, wow, it's bad. And then either they moved on or people like played it because they were like, this is hilarious, which
the people counting profits are like,
that's your thing, go off.
Win.
Gollum, I think people were, I don't know if they were excited for it, but Gollum, like, it had a trailer, I think, at E3.
We talked about it for a couple of years
like
before it came out, it feels like.
Yeah, I know we talked about it on the podcast before it came out and was like universally panned. So like you could argue that when a game is higher profile like that and promising more, it flopping as hard as Gollum did, even if the low points weren't quite as low as this King Kong game, is a worse offense. Again, like not looking to blame Iguanaby on this. I don't know who Game Mill even is. Like Iguanaby were the devs. Game Mill, it sounds like probably just owns the rights to this IP. Also, the fact that they're called Game Mill is kind of hilarious to this whole discussion because sounds like they're a content mill that like doesn't care about what they're making.
Video game, it sounds like.
Game Mill provides the funding to get licensed titles. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of other examples of this. It seems like bad practice. I look at these videos and I laugh like everyone else does. But I also kind of wonder on a deeper level, like, if people just laugh about this and move on, and also if people play it for the clicks on Twitch,
I would
100%
have played this on my PlayStation 1. 100%.
Yeah, that is my question to you guys.
Well, sure.
So, like, do you think this would have been received differently if you go back in time to, the PlayStation 1 era, the Dreamcast era, any of those? Do you think this would have been lauded as, like, advanced next generation style game?
Yes, it would have been said, wow, these graphics look sick, because if you so to me, the way King Kong looks is like representative of CGI that we've seen in that time. So like that looks great, but like, gosh, we have gone so far from PlayStation 1.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a weird question, right? Because like if this game was made at that time, like, yeah, I might have played it and I might have enjoyed it, but we ain't living in that time no more. Like, there are just so many better options. You could go get a game literally for free $99 that looks and plays better than this.
The other side of it too is, if I played this back in the day, I would have been like, oh, I'm just a monkey that beats up lizards. Because there's my biggest complaint, and they mentioned it in the video I watched, is there's no true sense of scale here. The island's huge, all of the beasts on the island are huge, and you're huge. So everything's just normal sized, right? Because huge is relative.
Right. I mean, the game, I'm sure, was rushed out with, I mean, you're getting so into the weeds with that complaint. And I'm not saying you're wrong to do so. I'm just saying that...
But if it's a King Kong game, I want to feel like a big boy. That's it.
Yeah, I'm sure they got the instruction, make a monkey fight lizards. Make it look okay. You have 6 months. Go. Like, I'm sure that's like how the conversation went. Like, there's probably not much more to read into it than that. It is on some level upsetting. But I would be lying if I said I didn't watch the clips and, giggle, because it's really, really something else. Just to put a still image into a cutscene for a game, and I guess just think no one's going to notice. Like, I don't know. It's very interesting. I don't know, too, and I'm going to Google right now. Like, can you buy this game? I would assume you can. Skull Island Rise of Kong. Save 20% on Skull Island Rise of Kong on Steam. You're not just giving it away for free at this point, Steam. It costs $32 on Steam.
Okay,
right now,
that is egregious. Recording. I'm sorry. If you only put the resources in to give a dev team a year to put this together, you should not be charging that much money. Like, this is like something that you put for $9.99 because there are indie teams who put more work into their... And again, this is not a shot at the devs, but put more time and work into their games simply because they're not giving crazy deadlines and produce better quality stuff for $10. That's wild. The price is the thing that's like setting me off here.
It's 20% off, which means it's actually regular price. It's $40.
That's freaking insane. That's freaking insane.
Can I
Profits
get it on
over
the
quality?
Switch?
That's what this story is about, folks.
It appears to be available on the Switch, and there it actually is $40. I've mentioned on the show before, like, there are so many games you can get on the Switch for like $2 that are amazing. I don't know why you'd be thinking about it after listening to us rail on this game for 10 minutes, but like, please do not buy this game. Like, I don't know what you'd be doing. There's the digital edition, Skull Island Rise of Kong for $40. There's also the Skull Island Rise of Kong Colossal Edition for $50 if you really want to waste your money. Someone should, someone out there who's played it, let us know how that is, because I don't know what you get with the Colossal Edition, but I'm sure it's breathtaking. That is shocking. I did not know going into this that it was like a $40-$50 game. That does feel like a bridge too far. Yeah, someone should get fired. Probably the Game Mill people, not the Iguana Bee people. Again, I want to be as clear as possible. I know we've said it like a billion times at this point. Probably isn't Iguana Bee's fault. So, Game Mill, screw you. Is that a fair place to leave this?
Great place.
This game's out now if you want to go play it. But yeah, Game Mill, screw you. Hopefully we can convince people to not play your game. That brings us to What Are You Up To Wednesday. It's going to be a jam-packed week of What Are You Up To Wednesday. I think we've all got a lot to get to. Techtic, I'm going to roll out the red carpet for you, our Spider-Man 2 boy, if you want to talk about that experience or anything else going on.
So
The floor is yours.
I literally got leg cramps because I did not get really up from my couch for 2 days straight. And it was amazing. I am a person who can't sit still for like 5 minutes. I have to get up and do something, be it dishes or chores or whatever. I have to do something. And this game had me basically buckled in to the couch. There's in a storyline that I know very well from the comic book side of things, they managed to keep me surprised with a unique take of things, and I'm here for it. Keep up the good work, guys. This is a great game. You guys really outdid yourself, and I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to say that's what I've been up to, and it is fantastic.
Mechanism-wise, like web swinging, is it the same as prior games? Is it improved? Like battle, is it the same?
Web swinging is the same, but they added an additional travel mechanism that is fantastic. You have spider wings, so you can now also fly.
Oh, that's pretty sick.
Have you used, I can't imagine you would have, but I'm just checking to make sure. I know there is now an option to fast travel literally anywhere in the city. Have you utilized that in any?
So a couple things. You actually have to unlock fast travel in each area by completing missions before you can use it. And what kind of psychopath uses it?
Yeah, that's the response I was looking for, and you delivered. It doesn't seem like the kind. Like again, we talked.
I think I'm going to use it once to see the cutscene that they do for Spider-Man and Miles, or Peter and Miles. But that's it.
I will say, yeah, I think I did the fast travel on the original games because, like, it was cool to see them just chilling on the subway.
Yeah. Like I get them adding it as a feature. It's a nice feature for people, I'm sure. But like, I just spent time. Like, I remember in the first one in particular, like, I would literally I'm 100% in that game, and I would literally just like swing around, just like, oh, I'm Spider-Man now. I'm just gonna swing around and like have a ball, do like tricks. They really, I think, is there a better traversal system in any game?
No, it's fantastic. And then the other side of things that is really great is the way they did the skill tree. So you have a skill tree for Miles, you have a skill tree for Peter, and you have a skill tree for the two of them that like works for both of them. So it's like,
do you get skill points for like dedicated to each person?
Nope.
Or
you can spend them as you see fit, which is again fantastic.
A lot of strategy there. I feel like people could have very different play experiences depending on where they allocate those points. Then
me personally, I kind of maxed out the two of them first, and then I started
like the two
going,
of them together.
Yeah,
okay.
And then I started going in the individual skill trees, minus like the one or two like initial abilities.
How far percentage-wise are you in the game at this point?
I will say I did cap out Miles basically first. I played with him a lot to do like all of the like missions, the side missions specific to him. So as far as percentage of the like game content, I'm about 30%.
And 2 days of leg cramps. That's a solid value.
Lot of just city swinging. Honestly, like I'm not really trying to grind it out. I'm just having a good time with it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a Christmas game for me for sure. No diz out. So good to hear it's good. I mean, I never really had it out.
I mean, you also, can you tell us about how you procured a copy of this game?
My wife, she bought it for me.
Surprise gifts.
That's very
guys,
kind
pro
and sweet
tip,
of you.
if you're in a relationship, just get your significant other gifts randomly. It's very
this
well
was a no reason gift,
appreciated. It's just that's how you spice up the marriage. It really does the trick.
Absolutely love the no reason gift. Shout out to the no reason gift. It's a great practice. Couldn't be more behind that as a PSA. Yeah. Cool, man. Very exciting. I started a game. That's just a thing about me as a segue into my update. I've started Alan Wake Remastered. Now, I've never played Alan Wake. I didn't play the first one. I think I played the demo for the first one, which I only vaguely remember. Let me start with the good. This is a game that I was predominantly encouraged to play after watching the Alan Wake 2 trailer and being like, that seems like my vibe. It is my vibe. Alan Wake is my vibe. The main character is a writer. Guys, I want to be a writer. The main character is getting spooked all the time. I don't know if I necessarily want to be spooked all the time, but I like spooky games. The combat system is very simple, straightforward, but satisfying, which I appreciate. There are hidden things. All of that's great. The only bad thing I'd say about it so far, which I'm not very far in, the quality of the remaster itself relative to other remasters I played recently, namely like Dead Space, Metroid Prime, even going as far back as The Last of Us, which was remastered for PS4, like this is a low quality remaster. If you're looking to play this, and if you already played Alan Wake, like I have no point of reference, so it's okay for me. I would set your expectations appropriately. That's all I guess I will say. But I'm enjoying it. I will be continuing. It's the perfect season for it. I'm getting some use out of it. It was also less than $10, which is always a good thing. Other than that, the other updates that I have. So movie-wise, I want to shout out a movie we watched called Prospect. This was a science fiction indie movie from 2018, starring a then pre-Mandalorian, I think post-Narcos, but I'm not sure about that, Pedro Pascal. And basically the lead role. He's fantastic. The movie itself is like not quite as good as its Rotten Tomatoes score, I would say, but it was enjoyable. And it was also an hour and 38 minutes, which to me gives it an automatic like 1 additional star on top of its rating. So I wanted to shout that movie out. It is streaming for free, I think with like Freevee with ads, I believe. And then television wise, I will shout out, we started the new Goosebumps. Have you guys started the new Goosebumps?
Yes.
Yeah, we talked
so
about
good.
this last week. It's super good. You
Kinda
missed a
scary.
great
Okay,
yeah,
conversation about this.
So I only saw the one episode.
You're
so
only
far.
one episode in, dude.
Well, dude, we have a logjam right now. And this is, I'm opening up the can of worms here, but like
I see what you did there.
Goosebumps
Did you eat them?
just started. No, but I know about that part. Goosebumps just started. Fall of the House of Usher just started, which we watched that one episode of that. That also seems like it's going to be really, really good. We're still watching ER, which is, I guess that's kind of an us problem. It seems like TV is really going on right now. So really into that whole situation. I've also been reading a book, but I feel like that's my time. So I'm not going to get into that until next week. I'll swing it over to Nerdbomber to close us out here in the What Are You Up To Wednesday-ness of it all.
Okay, so I have a 2S update here. The first S is Slotherhouse. We watched Slotherhouse.
Yeah, that's right.
It's on Hulu.
It happened, guys.
I got a video clip of a sloth driving a vehicle.
Guys, this is the most
From you.
unserious movie I have ever seen, and it is fantastic.
But it is not the next Jennifer's Body.
I disagree. I think so. This is
Insane take.
This is a movie that you have to go in expecting that it's not trying to take itself seriously. Like it is at face value a joke of a movie, and it is trying to be a joke.
Yeah, it's Jennifer's
Yes,
body.
Exactly. And it was
I'm just amping you up. Keep
it was
going.
really funny. I chuckled quite a bit throughout the entire thing. Like I said, it is just one of the most unserious movies I've ever watched. And of course, there's always like this serious undertone theme that's like the reason why the movie exists. Like, get off social media, blah, 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 blah. Your follows aren't important, live life, blah, blah, blah. But the ridiculous scenes of the sloth murdering people, taking selfies while it murders people, driving in a car, like taking on a ninja star thrower. Like this shit was so ridiculous, and I ate up every second of it. And they also memeified the movie at the end in the credits. They made their own memes, which are on the internet. There's a gallery of fantastic memes that you can draw on. And it was a meme of a movie. They did a fantastic job leaning into the fact that it is a meme movie. And it was great. I thought it was funny.
So wait, is the core idea that people are on their phones on Instagram so they don't see a sloth moving very slowly towards them with a knife? Is that like
no? So
basic gist
I
of
don't
it?
want to
No, it's
necessarily.
fast.
I don't want to necessarily
'Cause that would make
spoil
sense.
anything, but more so so she's trying to like win popularity to become the sorority president. So she obtains the sloth to try to become popular, which works. But then she has a murder sloth on her hands. So
Right. It's a classic
murder sloth.
classic way to become
Yeah.
popular. What's a classic way to become popular is to get a sloth. Everyone knows that. So
I enjoyed it. Like I said, it was really stupid, but like stupid funny. Some people probably wouldn't get it, but like for an hour and a half, I chuckled. We had some wine and popcorn, and I thought it was funny.
well, so Techtic said it was not the next Jennifer's Body. So would you say he didn't get it?
I would.
Do you think Techtic didn't get
He
it?
kept saying that this movie is just bad, and I'm like, that's the point. It's trying to be like it's being bad on purpose, and
Oh my
I
god,
think
Techtic, he didn't get it.
I don't necessarily like. He laughed, but I think he didn't realize that it being bad was the point. Like they really need
There's
to
like
do it.
so like there's bad movies that are good that they're bad, like Scary Movie, like the whole Scary Movie group.
There's funny bad.
But this was not
Well,
that.
I don't know if that's a good example.
Yeah, I don't think that is.
Like Scary Movie is leaning into parody. This is more. I don't even know what you. Scary Movie is very purposely doing what it's doing, and like I don't know if I put that on the same footing, but I get your point that there are movies that are funny bad, and then there are movies that are bad. Sounds like you're saying this movie was bad, and it sounds like Nerdbomber is disagreeing.
I thought it was funny. And I also am not convinced that Techtic has seen Jennifer's Body to make an apt comparison.
I have seen Jennifer's Body.
Nerdbomber, you were going to show up to this movie and you were going to love it no matter what it was. So I'm sorry, your take is simply not unbiased.
I laughed
which means I'll have to watch it myself.
I laughed a decent amount. You should watch it. Like seriously, it's only an hour and a half. It's on Hulu. If you have Hulu, like you're not spending any additional money. Just do it.
Well, I got movie problems. No Hard Feelings just dropped on Netflix. I think I got to watch that.
That is a very good movie. But like this, you have to get in before Christmas, or not Christmas, Halloween. So like,
got to get it in before Christmas. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen if I don't. What's the other S?
Starfield. So I talked about this a little bit. I didn't want to get into it too much last week. I'd only played for a few hours. Now I think I'm about like probably 20 to 25 hours deep. And I got to be honest, I still don't know what the main story is. And that's my fault. Honestly, that is my fault. So
you're just kind of seeing a shiny thing and moving towards it.
Yeah,
so you're not
pretty much. So there are a lot of side missions, and they're not kidding. When they advertised this game, they said that you could take it anywhere, right? Like there were different factions you could join. You could completely bypass quests. You could follow quest lines. Every person's experience would be different. And man, let me tell you, I am deep down a rabbit hole on a specific quest line, which I'm finding extremely enthralling. And right now, I'm just not compelled to go follow the main quest line because the one that I'm following right now has like dangerous aliens and big bad military people in a bunker. And it's just, I'm interested. And I would say,
yeah, I mean, you don't have to, right? That's the joy.
Right,
of it.
exactly. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, the writing in this game isn't very good. And I would tell those people, and I think people who are looking for very in-depth mission writing, like, yeah, okay, a lot of the missions are like, go to this point and kill so-and-so and collect so-and-so and bring it back to this person. And yeah, okay, that's most missions in games. But the world building and the reason why you're doing the things and like the little details of the world that you uncover are the things that's like keeping me going. I have always been one of those people, and I found this in Fallout too. I tend to read all of the different, like when I'm at a computer, I'll read all of the different emails between people, or I'll pick up notes and I'll read all the lore because they have spent so much time in building the world, the factions, the economy, the history of this world, this galaxy. And that is the kind of stuff right now that I am really interested in. I will say in terms of UI, there are some definite UI tricky things going on that I don't think are great. One of the big things that I was really excited about was the ability to like build your own custom ship. And not only did they not give you much direction as to how to do that, it's just very cumbersome and difficult to manage in terms of like the UI and building your ship. And they don't really give a good guide or tutorial onto how you build a ship. You also can't start from scratch in a blueprint. Like you have to delete your old ship to build a new ship. And that's like very terrifying. And I know you can like back out and not save, but like that scares me. I don't like that.
The metaphor was if you want to have a project car, as a hobby, to take apart your commuter.
Yeah, like so that I'm a little... And like, there are just weird UI decisions, like how you travel the map is just very confusing, like going from planet to planet. And it took me a while to figure out, because they don't explain it very well, like how to navigate the star system. They just kind of drop you into the world. And even like settlement building, like Outpost, they don't really explain that either. And those are things like I had to look up. So if you're a new player, that's something that I would bounce off of super quickly. Like I would have, if I wasn't invested in this game and someone told me, hey, you have to navigate to the star system, and I couldn't figure it out in 2 minutes. Like if I'm a new player who's not that invested, I can see why people are bouncing. But for me,
I think there's a counterpoint to that though. Like I'm team you in that regard, but I'm sure there are people who they're like, I don't know how to build a settlement. This is so exciting. Like, they're like the idea of being dropped into it with no information. I'm sure they would argue is part of the experience because that's probably what the main story is, right? You're probably just some guy.
Right.
you know?
Yeah, the game starts and everybody has the same beginning, but you're basically just a miner who gets picked up and recruited to this space exploration team. And so, yeah, you aren't supposed to know everything, right? You're kind of in the dark. You're just a miner. But I will say props to the good people of the internet for helping me, figure out how to navigate those, because once you get past those and you learn those systems, like the core of the game is very fun. The gunplay is great. I haven't explored a ton of worlds yet, but I have like 100% surveyed a planet, and walking around the planet and discovering different biomes and different crazy animals that exist on that biome. Like, there is a sense of wonder that you don't know what you're going to expect. It's a planet. Nobody really necessarily even told you to go there. You just landed there and you're just looking around. You're scavenging and you're seeing what crazy shit pops up. And that's kind of cool to me. But also, like, the side missions are also really cool. And my other main thing, though, encumbrance sucks. Both your ship is encumbered and your person is encumbered, and I hate that. But you'll adapt, I guess. But I don't understand why that is a thing in video games these days. Like, I don't get it. Let me collect everything to my heart's desire. Let me pick up infinite amount of items. Don't slow me down.
You're telling me there are good people on the internet? I'm still way back there.
There are great people on the internet.
Thanks to good people on the internet.
Yeah, there are
That's
people
crazy.
who, create game guides. And so when you're like, holy shit, I just want to make a new ship with more cargo space because my ship is encumbered and I can't fit more ship parts, and then I'm in a ship battle and I can't repair my ship. How do I do this? There are people on the internet who have written amazing guides to help you figure it out, and it's great. And thank you to those people.
Well, it sounds like you two are just kind of in separate rooms.
Same room. So
just kind of going crazy. No, your same room.
Our PS5.
Oh, your Steam
so our
Deck in it?
PS5 and our Xbox Series X are connected to the same TV. So I've actually been playing on Xbox Cloud Gaming on my Steam Deck, and more or less it's working pretty well. I will say, like, there are certain times of day where I think more people are using the servers. So, like, for example, Prime Football time, because like I got frustrated watching football on Sunday and like tapped out part of the way through, and then was like kind of splitting my brain power watching football and playing Starfield. And I think a lot of people might have been doing the same thing because the servers were super slow and it was kind of buggy. But most of the time, it's a pretty good experience. Way to go, cloud gaming.
So you guys are sitting in the same room, separate couches.
Same couch.
Every once in a while, one of you is like, how's it going over there? And they were like,
Same couch.
How are you doing?
Same couch.
Same couch, but that's probably what the experience is like. Well, that's awesome. Shout out to video games. That's what the whole episode was about, but they rule. That brings us to Quiztown. We're going back to Quiztown, guys. All aboard the Quiztown train. I am the quiz train conductor this week. Happy to be here. Looking at the quiz standings. Techtic 10-9, Nerdbomber 10-10. Your boy, Illeagle 86, 9-14. Steven 3-1. We're rounding the final bend here, so to speak, as calendar years go. So I'm going to have to like get my butt in gear, but I can't do that this week because I'm hosting. And the quiz topic this week is Edgar Allan Poe. I assume this was a topic because of the Fall of the House of Usher, which I mentioned I just started watching. None of the questions are about that show in particular, but they're all about my guy, Edgar Allan P. So you know the drill. Price is Right style. Every question answer is numerical. Techtic will go first to give Nerdbomber an advantage. Everyone gets an answer of 1 or a +1 once per game. Classic first question about a famous person. When was Edgar Allan Poe born?
1862.
And Nerdbomber.
I'm going to say 1500 because I feel like it was slightly earlier than that, but I don't know.
You do kind of know. 1809. 1809 is what we were looking for. So Techtic, you busted. You went all the way up to the Civil War, and I don't know, that wasn't right. So, sorry. Nerdbomber's on the board. Let's get the gross question out of the way, because this question's gross. Edgar Allan Poe married his cousin. First of all, that's not a question, that's just a fact. He married his cousin. It was the 1800s. Apparently that was a little bit less frowned upon back then. How old was his cousin when he married her?
You said this was gross, so this makes me sad to say, but I feel like she was like freaking 10 years old, and my heart breaks.
And Techtic.
I think that's fairly accurate. I think there was an age discrepancy between them, and she was for sure under 18 from what I remember. Don't believe she was 10, but this is not like, I'm going to say 15 to kind of put some distance, but I think she was actually younger than that.
Boy, I thought you were going to use your +1. You should have. She was 13, guys. He was 27 at the time.
Dude.
That's not cool. It's not cool at all.
Yeah, we've done Edgar Allan Poe as a quiz topic, and I was the host. I vaguely remember reading all this. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I did not know that. I mean, you've had me fooled. I completely forgot that. So, Nerdbomber.
It's been 7
2-point
years
lead.
of quizzes. It's tough to keep
It's like
track.
coming back to me. I just think either that or I was reading Edgar Allan Poe Trivia like way back in the day.
Well, maybe you remember this. How old was he when he died?
I believe he was 41. No. 36. Sorry, he was 36. Lock it in.
37. But I wish it was earlier so that poor little girl didn't have to go through that much longer.
I thought his first wife died too. So
Yeah, she actually died before he did. That's another fact, which is really depressing.
Man.
So, Nerdbomber takes the 3 and out here. He was 40. Interestingly enough, I won't get into the details of it now. The circumstances under which he died are very mysterious to the point that people don't know to this day how exactly he did die. He was basically found in a ditch. He was very drunk.
He was probably upset
People
that he
think
was a pedophile.
People think he was actually used to commit voter fraud. Like someone got him really drunk and made him vote for someone. It's a really interesting story, guys. I'm not going to get into it now, but there's like whole YouTube videos about it. So Nerdbomber takes this one home with relative ease. We'll go through the last 2 questions here, see if she can get the old clean sweep. He wrote his first book at age 18, Tamerlane and Other Poems. Wrote it just after graduating, I believe, from the University of Virginia. How many copies of that book are known to exist today?
25.
26.
Dale got ruined in the war. What war, you ask? I don't know, but the war.
Guys, it's 12 copies. So I guess my question now is, does it count as a clean sweep if both of you busted and Techtic's still not on the board?
No.
Okay, he has spoken. We'll finish this out anyways, but yeah, that's no points for either of you. Still 3-0. So most people don't know that Edgar Allan Poe also is considered by most to have birthed the modern detective genre. He published a book called Murders at the Rue Morgue, which I believe is a collection of short stories, that influenced Arthur Conan Doyle to create Sherlock Holmes. In what year was Murders at the Rue Morgue published?
1827.
1820.
Yes, I didn't lose.
Okay, you guys both forgot when he was born.
Yes.
He was born in 1809. So,
Shit.
Nerdbomber, you think he wrote it when he was 11.
Yeah.
Techtic thinks that he wrote it when he was 18, which he wrote his first book when he was 18, but he didn't write Murders at the Rue Morgue until 1841 when he was 32 years old. So, Techtic gets the pity point. Well deserved, I suppose. I'm going to read my tiebreaker.
I didn't forget when he was
because it's
born. I thought
awesome.
he was the second one.
No, I said the title of his first one, Tamerlane and Other Poems. My tiebreaker was how many poems did he publish? He published 69 poems. Yeah, pretty nice. So, yeah, that moves Nerdbomber up in the rankings. Her new quiz ranking is now, well, actually, it does make her 11 and 10. Techtic moves to 10 and 10, thus making Nerdbomber yield top dog. I am still at 9 and 14. Woe is me, but I'll get him next week, hopefully. I'll be taking on Techtic next week to try and stay in this thing. In the meantime, we would encourage you to head over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a review there, let us know what you think of the show. Hit us up on X/Twitter at the handles mentioned earlier in the episode. Hit us up on Patreon, patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast, if you're interested in giving back to the show and following what we have going on over here. We'll talk at y'all next week. In the meantime, stay safe and keep on podcasting.